Welcome to Channel 18 News. I'm Jim Rogers. 32 car burglaries have been solved, and the Silver Springs police investigators are somewhat confident that an arrest made Wednesday afternoon at 4:50 p.m. may in fact solve all the late-night unlocked auto burglaries that have occurred in recent days. The method of operation by the burglar has been the same in all the burglaries that have occurred in the city. The Special Crimes Unit of the Silver Springs Police Department served a warrant in the 400 block of Van Sickle Street to make the arrest. When the arrest was made, SCU found the suspect for whom they had a warrant hiding in a closet of the residence. With her was her boyfriend, who was also wanted on a warrant for county theft of property over $750 but less than $2,500. They were in the closet, hoping to avoid the police and evade arrest. He's 20 years of age, she 21 years of age. Police Chief Jay Sanders told KSST News that when the suspect was identified, the auto burglaries stopped. He said this was a combined effort of the Silver Springs Police Criminal Investigators, Patrol Division, Special Crimes Unit, and the Hopkins County Sheriff's deputies and investigators. The name of the two individuals are being withheld because they are held on misdemeanor charges at this time. Thursday morning, 8th Judicial District Court, Juan Octavio Chapa had his probation revoked, and he was sentenced to 5 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. He was set for sentencing last week, but his name on his passport and ID card was not matching the name for whom the warrant had been made. The name on his ID card and passport, Francisco Renteria. It created a delay. Using a different name, Juan Octavio Chapa, age 45, was found in the Davidson County Jail in Nashville, Tennessee. There, he was under the name of Francisco Renteria Escamilla. His fingerprints placed on the national database for wanted felons by Hopkins County Sheriff's Administrator Ron Lowry enabled the find. Chapa was wanted in Hopkins County for an 04 case that involved a traffic stop, which found him in possession of over 50 pounds but less than 2,000 pounds of marijuana. Chapa failed to appear for a court date, and a warrant had been issued for his arrest. Roadways in Hopkins County will be reworked with seal coat in the next few weeks. The affected roads for the project include FM 499 from the Hunt-Hopkins County line to Interstate 30. That work begins on July 18th. FM 275 from Interstate Highway 30 to FM 1567. That's through the Miller Grove area. It will begin July 19th. And then July 20th, the work on FM 1567 from FM 2560 to State Highway 11. That's from the Riley Springs area toward the Como area. This is preventative maintenance that's critical to seal out moisture and prevent damage to the pavement, as well as preserve the investment in the roadways, according to Tommy Henderson, TxDOT area engineer based in Greenville. Provisions have been made to include in the highway contract the opportunity for traffic to continue to flow with minimum delays and access to adjacent properties to be maintained during the project. This is a part of the Paris District's $8.4 million area project. Hagman Reserve is closed and will be placed on the real estate market. Those who are paid club members of the reserve and enjoy privileges of that membership have received a letter confirming the closure. In information presented in the notice, the Hagman family notes the desire of the family to spend more time together, and the Texas property places limits on that time. According to Shane Hagman, son of Steve and Sandra Hagman, and a member of the family business, all hourly workers at the reserve were told this week that their services would be no longer required after July 1st. He stated the executive staff would remain to work through the transition period. The Hagman family looks to family time as the reason for the sale. However, the Hopkins County Appraisal District has not been encouraging in their actions towards Steve and Sandra Hagman, Texas LLC, owners of the reserve. A suit in the 62nd Judicial District Court seeks relief for the Hagman Reserve regarding the tax appraisal that was placed on the property. The appraisal was set at $39.2 million. Hagman went before the Appraisal District Tax Review Board and asked that the value be lowered to $4 million. The review board set the value at $15.6 million. That was okay with the Hagman family, but not with the Appraisal District leadership. Thus, a problem has evolved. Hageman was notified on July 2nd of 2015 and the appraisal district's intent to sue, but he struck first. A suit was filed 14 days before the appraisal district filed their lawsuit. The decision for the Hageman family came on July 27, 2015, when Stephen Sandra Hageman, Texas LLC, filed suit against the appraisal district, stating that the value of the property is substantially below the value determined by the Appraisal Review Board. The filed papers state the levying of the tax on the property based on incorrect valuation is excessive and unequal and will cause injury to the plaintiff. Also requested in the suit is if a decision is made to pay a lesser amount of taxes than the amount billed, notice of the amount would be paid and filed with the court. The suit not only seeks a lowered property value, they also seek reimbursement for reasonable attorney fees from the defendant pursuant to the Texas Tax Code. That creates a problem for the appraisal district. They do not have enough money in their 2017 proposed budget to pay that type of attorney fee. On August 12th, the appraisal district filed suit against the Hageman family. All of this can be found on the story on KSSTradio.com.
Hopkins County Fire Chief Andy Inslee had been on the job for just 5 days when he visited the KSST studios. Fireworks safety is his concern as the 4th of July weekend is drawing near. So let's meet Andy.
Every year, typically in the past we've been under a burn ban, so we had not been able to have a lot of fireworks. So I just thought it'd be good to just kind of go over some of the safety aspects of it. For one thing, you want to follow your local law, and I know this radio station covers a pretty broad area, so to be safe on that side of it, just contact your local municipality or your local agency to see what the guidelines are as far as if you're allowed to or not to do fireworks. In the county. You're good out there outside the city limits, but you need to contact the city of Sulphur Springs on that side of it.
Okay.
But and then it's been asked, how long can you pop fireworks? The typical rule is as long as the fireworks stands are open to sell, you're good to exercise your right to pop the fireworks. But once the stand is closed, it gets in a little bit of a different situation there.
So this would mean even after the holiday?
After the holidays. Because a lot of times, typically, people want to continue to pop fireworks 3 to 4 days afterwards. And as long as the work stands are open, you're good.
And there are several located around in Hopkins County and
that
are getting ready to open.
Yes, and that's another big thing because, again, we're not under a burn ban. We hadn't been in the past couple of years. And, just for instance, give you a little example of how hot some things can be. Just the typical sparklers. I know I'm guilty of it myself, holding the sparkler, letting your children hold the sparklers. But you got to be mindful that sparkler can produce up to 1,200 degrees heat.
What?
So it's very, very hot. So just be really careful when you're handling those and read the directions. I know a lot of times, I don't have time to read the directions. I've done this all my life. Well, it's not a bad idea to do it. And another good thing you want to do is you want to pop your fireworks or set them off on good level ground where they don't start rolling downhill, a good bare area where there's no grass or anything like that. We live in a very much of a farming community here in Hopkins County, and you got to be mindful. It is right in the heat of hay season, and the farmers are putting up their hay, and it would be a misfortune if you're out celebrating America's birthday and you was to shoot the fireworks in the wrong direction, landing the farmer's hay and set his hay on fire, so that it already got stored ready to go, because don't let that become a disaster when it was just a good time.
That would be a very sad thing.
Right.
And you've been mentioning the danger part of it. I think sometimes when we were younger, maybe a little bit more reckless in our youth, we didn't worry about anything.
We did not.
But now as parents, many times, we want to take a little extra care.
Right, and I'm just as guilty as everyone else, tying several firecrackers together and making your own type of fireworks, that's very unsafe. And I never had at least a 5-gallon bucket of water or garden hose handy in case you ever had a fire. And I can remember back when I was a child, we were popping fireworks at my parents' house, and one of the bottle rockets landed on top of the roof, and we lived in a heavily pine tree area, and it got in the gutter of the house, and it was starting to catch a roof on fire. Well, luckily it was put out real quick, but that's one of my scares with fireworks right there. So be mindful where you're pointing the fireworks, and make sure it's in a good, safe direction, away from structures, away from people especially, and just be very mindful where you're at on that.
Oh, and some bad hand and face injuries can take place.
Yes, very much.
Firecrackers.
Because remember, you are dealing with explosives. They're real light explosives, but sometimes just according to where they're manufactured at and how they're made, they make stronger firecrackers than others. So that's where that reading directions comes in, because you don't want to type several at a time. Again, like we used to do in the past, because we were reckless as kids, and that's just a little caution of error right there.
Okay. Well, I was wondering if, with supplies being as they are today, and we can get most anything from most anywhere, maybe some more sophisticated or higher powered fireworks than really we had at hand in earlier years.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's we think back, well, we used to do it all the time, and we used to actually set the firecrackers off in our hand and then throw them. Well, that's very unsafe. That's where you get the hand injuries and the face injuries, because it goes a lot faster than what you think it does. And it's a good idea to have the little devices they give you at the firecracker or at the fireworks stand to actually light it instead of using a lighter or a match, because it gives you time to get away safely. Once you light it, get away safely.
Okay, that is good advice. Well, I'd like to ask about organized fireworks displays, such as our concert this Saturday night. I know that is supervised, the fireworks portion of it.
Right. And the City of Sulphur Springs Fire Department, they're going to be on standby downtown, as they are always. They do a fantastic job. I think that's a fantastic show down there. I've been there several times, and I always look forward to it. And you got to be mindful, that is a professional group of people coming in, that they do that all the time, and they're very good at what they do.
Okay, well, that is wonderful to know. Well, we're glad that you're here with us in Hopkins County, and starting off really on the 4th of July season is the opening of your job. But we want to know how you came to be in Sulphur Springs.
I've been living in Sulphur Springs for 10 years now. I married Becky Ringler, and we've lived here ever since we've been married. Most of my career was in Atlanta, Texas Fire Department. A lot of people don't know where Atlanta, Texas is, but it's just south of Texarkana, Texas area, about 30 minutes. And it's right there in the northeast corner of Arkansas, Louisiana. So I could be in either state in about 10 minutes. So that's where I was born and raised until I was 36 when I moved here. And so that kind of tells my age right there a little bit. So, but I've been in the fire service since 1989. I started out volunteering and really loved the job. And I thought, well, that's a great career to get into. And fortunately, I was able to get on at the local fire department where that I lived, and that was my community I was from. And after I moved here, I love Hopkins County. I love the citizens of it. It's a very giving community. Not that it wasn't where I came from in Cass County, but here in Hopkins County, it doesn't matter what the need is. The people of Hopkins County, Sulphur Springs area, they pull together, and they can come up with some amazing amount of money if it's for someone with cancer, if it's just some kind of benefit helping a local organization. They pull together all the time. I mean, look at NETLA and all those shows. It's just amazing what they can do. So that's one thing that really I love about Hopkins County. And the Hopkins County Fire was previously, I come here and I retired, but I went to work doing something else. But I was here about 7 years with Hopkins County there at the end, and I stopped for about the past probably 4 years or so. And then during that time, I drove a bulk milk tanker truck for GHB Trucking for Walt Gamblin. And that was really a good thing, because I really learned a lot about Hopkins County, the people that made this county what it is, all the dairy farmers out there, what struggles they go through every day. And I mean, I just got a big admiration for all the producers out there that get out there and work every day, and day in, day out.
Those are some that we don't often see here in town. We don't see them maybe going out to eat or rubbing elbows with, but they're busy at work.
They are, and it's a 7-day job. There's no holidays. It's driving that milk truck. I was out there hauling milk on holidays and everything like that. So a deep appreciation for Hopkins County and what it stands for on that side of it.
We don't have very much time left, but I want to say that in the structure, Hopkins County Fire Department, you have a fire marshal.
Right.
Who is?
Mike Matthews.
Okay, and then you are fire chief.
That's
and
correct.
You have a staff.
I have a staff. We're full paid with some part-time help in there as well. But we supplement the volunteer fire departments. We go out and we help the volunteer departments on their fires in their districts, and that's what we're there for, is to make sure someone's coming here in Hopkins County. If you have some type of fire emergency or medical emergency, we're coming to help. And that's one thing I'd like to say real quick. If you ever thought about volunteering, and that's how I started before I became paid, as a volunteer, go to your local community fire department, sign up. We need all the help we can get all the time, because it's not only here in Hopkins County, but it's a nationwide trend. The volunteer side is dwindling down. People just did not have the time like they did back when I started.
Thank you, Andy Inslee, for coming in today.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Here's Don with sports.
After Thursday morning's workout, the Edge conditioning program is at the halfway point. 3 weeks done and 3 to go. Wildcats athletic director and head football coach Greg Owens says overall it's been good, noting that the kids that are coming are committed and they're getting after it. He adds, as a coach, he is frustrated with some guys, varsity players, who are not showing up and who should be. Coach Owens says he has to keep in mind not to worry about the ones that are not there and concentrate on coaching the ones that are showing up. He calls this year's Edge participants the most coachable group that he can remember in a long time. Coach Owens says a steady number of girls and boys continue to show up. He says what they put into it is what they'll get out of it. Meanwhile, the middle school Edge program wrapped up Thursday. Coach Owens says that it turned out good. He said coaches have had a lot of time to slow things down and to concentrate on teaching the students who will be entering the 7th and 8th grades in August. The emphasis for those athletes has been on learning weightlifting and on agility drills.
Thanks for watching Channel 18 News. Have a great evening.
In cooperation with all the other counties in the state of Texas, the Criminal Defense Bar has having the Declaration of Independence read in each county in Texas in commemoration of July 4th.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Declaration of Independence, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one person to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal stations to which the laws of nature and the nature's gods entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's to secure these rights. Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed.
That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than the right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariable the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of this present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them.
He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only.
He's called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He's dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the right of the people.
He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within.
He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing the judiciary powers.
He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and to eat out their substance.
He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He is affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power.
He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us,
for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world,
for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefit of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses,
for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies,
for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever.
He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people.
He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with the circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation.
He's constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their own hands.
He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an indistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble forms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of free people.
Nor have we been wanting in our attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence.
They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends.
And gentlemen, will you join me in the last paragraph?
We therefore, representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are of right and ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
That's it. Thank you.